Hello, hello.
What
We are
up?
here with a new MOBCAST, a very important special episode. We have the great Brandon Carleton.
Is is this your first guest?
Yep, you are the first
Oh my
guest, sir.
gosh.
Feel special. Yes, it's a big one.
I do feel special.
The first guest. How are you, man?
I'm good. I just got done doing yard work and it's like 95 degrees out. So I'm hot and sweaty and feel
Looking good. Gonna
gross.
get some sun.
And I'm sitting on I think some fake leather.
Fake leather.
Or
I don't
is
even
it
know if you
real
can
leather?
pass it as fake leather. It's just
So
some
I'm feeling a
bullshit.
little sticky, but I'm feeling good.
We'll have to upgrade to cloth for
Yeah.
in the summer. But
Yeah.
yeah, that shit. But do some more yard work after this, huh?
Yeah, it's going to be easy though cuz it's so I have a little bit I've never I've lived in Molina Rock my whole life, and I guess I have no history that would make this following sentence make sense. But I have a little bit of an inner hillbilly,
Yes.
if that's still appropriate to say in 2018. And I
Yes.
like
How dare you?
and I have a inner love and respect for Hank Hill, so I like to ride my in-laws riding lawnmower. I don't know why. I like to do it. It's a lot of fun. They don't have a ton of land, but it takes me like 20 minutes, and I just cruise around, and I drink beer, and I smoke cigars while I do it,
Yeah.
and I have a bucket hat, and I just like I don't know. There's something I get a lot of joy out of it
Yeah.
for some reason.
Why would anyone do drugs when they could just mow a lawn?
Exactly.
Right.
And they have a pool which helps. It's an
Yeah.
above ground, also hillbilly, but so, I mow the lawn and then I hop in and then we throw some stuff on the grill usually. I get along with my in laws super well. They're super cool people. And so it's kind of and once the summer comes around, it's like a nice weekly or bi weekly tradition where I just go over there, cut the grass, and we grill out.
Nice.
My father in law burns the shit out of the burgers, like classic old man, just grill them till they're whatever, like charcoal bricks themselves. And but there's something good about it. I don't know what it
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. That's good, especially with the pool, man. Ooh.
Yeah, sit there.
I'd be out there all day.
Yeah, sit out there and drink some beer and just hang out with good people. Yeah.
Hell yeah. So Brandon is an awesome Quad Cityan. He's involved in so much shit. A lot of charity work, lots of different community programs and shit he'd be putting on. So yeah,
Yeah.
you can tell us about whatever you'd like.
Yeah, so maybe I'll kind of run down a list. And then I'll actually before I run down the list, let me bring up a topic.
Yes.
I'll run down the list. Then we can maybe come back to the
Yes, sir.
topic. Okay. So the reason why I do a lot of charity work. It's not and charity work's kind of the wrong word. I actually have never referenced it as charity work in my own life, which I understand though why someone would put that label on it. Um, so there's a real common thing in the Midwest, maybe all over America, but definitely in the heart of the Midwest, where a lot of people grow up religious,
Mm-hmm.
and then so it doesn't even matter if it's religious or not, but you grow up with a certain paradigm that your parents like kind of, you grow up within that paradigm, and your parents kind of hand that down to you in a sense.
Right.
And then you reach a certain age, and it's a different age for all people. You have to make some sort of decision where it's like, do I want to keep that paradigm, or do I want to like go see about other paradigms, or just go make my own? And so, a lot of what I do is a response to the paradigm that I grew up in, and not knowing and leaving behind 95% of it.
Yeah.
And
Keep what's
then
important.
and
for
then
yourself.
keeping five. Yeah, so I have this like whatever visual in my mind that I always think of when I talk about this, like those in like Goodwill Hunting or in a photo of Einstein, there's this giant uh chalkboard behind him with
Mm-hmm.
like this long ass math problem.
Right.
A lot of times I feel like when I talk about religion or anything like that, it's a conversation where me and two people, or me and one other person, were looking at this chalkboard and we're pointing at like parts of the equation, and we're like, no, I don't like that. Oh, I don't believe in that. Let's erase that. And we get it down to like two things.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, okay. Well, that's a shitty way to go about it. I much rather just like throw the chalkboard away or erase it all and then like write two new things up there,
Yeah.
you know? But anyway, so that's been a big process that I've been going through for maybe 8 years now. And where it's left me is doing a lot of where I'm at now, where we're trying to do a lot of good things in the community without having the like religious stamp put on it or
Yeah.
the whatever, just leaving behind the shitty parts of what my church experience was growing up and just doing the stuff where it's like, you know, it sounds so, it's a super common trope, but whatever, one love type stuff where it's just like try and tear down the borders between me and other people, and then we're all connected, and um, mutual respect, empathy, all those different things that are a lot of religions have but don't really operate under those principles. But
Hmm.
anyway, so we can come back to that.
Yeah.
So because I see you on social media, I think you see me on social media, and we interact sometimes on different things, and I've always wanted to like have that conversation with you.
Yeah. Great.
um, anyway, so quick rundown, a lot of this too, just to give proper shout outs. I have a really good friend, his name's Jason Holtgrew. Me and him have kind of gone through this whole process together.
Is he the pastor?
Yes, he is a
Yeah.
pastor. Yeah, so I'm technically a pastor too.
Really?
We'll get into
Awesome.
this. Um, but I don't use that word ever, and we'll get into all that maybe, yeah, if you want to. Um, so me and him, and actually it'd be really stupid to leave my wife out of this because she has been really vital in this whole process too. So I just want to give proper credit where these aren't just like I've thought of these ideas and then go make them happen. You know what I mean? So it's
Hmm.
usually definitely me and Jason doing a lot of the admin work or the planning and the like thinking through the meaning behind it and like making literally just making it happen. One of my favorite quotes is every movement needs somebody holding a clipboard.
Yeah.
Like every like name a movement, civil rights movement, women's like suffrage, whatever, like there was someone that was like with a clipboard. It's like a super unsexy job, but it's super necessary.
Super necessary.
Yeah, you have to have organization anyway. So Jason's definitely been the guy with the clipboard, and a lot of times I come to him with some harebrained idea and he's like, okay, yeah, let's like try to figure out how that can exist
Yeah.
and be sustainable and not just be a flash in the pan. Well, anyway, so that's a really long lead up to a couple of things we saw. A couple of things we do. One, the primary one that we've been doing the longest is a thing called Laundry Love.
Hmm.
So that started 3 years ago. This July, it'll be 3 years.
That was the first thing you started doing, basically,
Yeah.
in that area.
Yep. That was, I think. Yeah. That. Yep. Yeah. That was. There's a group of us who, a group of people that met in my apartment once a week on Wednesday nights and ate dinner together. And it was a lot of people from a lot of different walks of life that had a lot of different opinions about everything, which is why it was so much fun. And the one thing we did agree on was that we wanted to give back to the community somehow, be involved in the community somehow. And so we came up with the idea for, we didn't come up with this idea. This has been going on for like a decade, and it started in California, I think, but there's a bunch of, you can just Google Laundry Love, and there's, I mean, like probably 500 places across the country that are doing their own unique thing.
Hmm.
And so we heard of it or heard about it, and we were like, hey, that'd be cool. We should try that. So yeah, that was about 3 years ago. We started doing that. That essentially is once a month. It's now expanded to 2 locations, but once a month we provide quarters and laundry detergent and laundry sheets for people, and they come and they do their laundry for free. They do their laundry, like we don't touch their clothes or anything like
Hmm.
that. But we pump in the quarters and put in the detergent. So that's about, we spend about $1,000 a month doing that, which is, so it's somewhere around like in 3 years, well, Yeah, I mean that's got to be like what's 3 times 12? So it's like 30,
It's like
36.
36.
Yeah, it hasn't been 1,000 every month. It maybe it was 5 months in when we got a second location. So like conservatively, it's been about $30,000 in the last 3 years that we spent on laundry, and that's somewhere around like I think I did the math once. It was like 15,000 loads of laundry or something like that.
Wow.
So that's one thing we do.
And that's you do two locations, like they operate at the same time once a month.
Yeah, so Wednesday nights, the first Wednesday of every month, it's from 5:30 to 8 p.m. And we each location has about 50 families that come, and yeah, we just do everybody's laundry. It's been super cool because selfishly, it's been super cool because we get to know. So the Rock Island location in particular is really close to where most of the refugees in the Quad Cities have settled. So on a given night, if we have 50 people there, 30, probably 40 of them are refugees somewhere from Africa. A lot of them are from Tanzania. There's a section in Tanzania, if I'm getting this right, called Burundi. I think a lot of them are from there. And then there's probably like 5 or 6 Iraqi families.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like 2 or 3 regular Americans. Uh, the Iraqi families in particular have become really good friends with my wife. And so they have us, like, especially right now. So Ramadan's going on right now. And they have a pretty badass like meal at the end of, because they break their fast at
Yeah.
sundown, and they have pretty good fit. So we'll go over there and eat a lot. I mean, I don't know how many times a year. Maybe it's not like crazy, but maybe like 8 to 10 times a year. We're over at their apartment
Mm-hmm.
in eating their food, and it's amazing. So that's been cool.
How long is their fast?
I don't know how long Ramadan is, but it's from the time they wake up to the till sundown.
Hmm.
So they have one meal at sundown, and that's it for a 24-hour cycle. Um, which is funny, not funny, but like they're what they try to do. This is them telling me this. They try to sleep as long as they can.
Yeah.
So they try to eat the biggest meal possible and then try to sleep as long as they can. So a lot of them sleep into like 11 a.m. or something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
You notice them eating a shit ton afterwards when they break the fast?
yeah. I mean, they go. I mean, Middle Eastern and like Asian cultures in general are like they really. I mean, I guess it's not just them, but they really love their food and they really love cooking for other people. Like I remember one time, it was like 8 a.m. Something super, like a Saturday morning. It was super early, and we got a call. One of them was having like car troubles. Well, I don't have. There's an atmosphere line. I don't know nothing about Uh, something like I don't know nothing about cars other than to drive safe and slow. But I don't know nothing about the engine. Is one of his lines. That's me. Like I don't know anything about cars, but I had a friend who did. So we go over there. It's Saturday morning, and it took they needed like a one part. We went to the store and got it, and he fixed it. It was like a half hour
Mm-hmm.
max. We get back and they're like, "Come in, come in, come in." We come in and they like made a full. It's like 9 a.m. and they made like a full like dinner.
Just while you were gone?
I don't know.
Maybe they started, but
I have no idea, but I mean it's like chicken and rice and like it's not breakfast food. It's like full on dinner. But that's just that's how they roll, you know. Um, yeah, so that's one thing, laundry love. Then we do these things called giving grubs.
Mhm.
So giving grubs are our way of. Oh, okay, so maybe I'm trying to think of the best way to start going down this list. So this is a little insight in the thing that I left behind when I left behind my parents' paradigm was if you look at most budgets for like churches and things like that, the budget is, and I'm not trying to, I guess, well, I don't know why I really care that much. I'm not trying to like alienate or talk shit about anybody, but like it's normally 90 to 95% in the money goes in house.
Mm.
So salaries. We actually don't own a building. We rent because you wouldn't believe how much money organizations spend on like light bulbs
Yeah.
and paper towels for the bathroom. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Janitorial supplies.
Oh man.
I worked for a church in my early 20s, and their annual budget for janitorial supplies was $70,000.
What?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Jeez.
Anyway, so the yeah, so it was really important for me and Jason to look at our budget and try to get it to be as close to the opposite of those numbers as possible.
Yeah.
So we have a very, very tiny budget, um, and we spend about 60 to 75% of it on going out, you know, on Laundry Love, and another one is giving grubs. And so we wanted to support other people in the community that are doing cool things. So instead of handing them, we had room in the budget. It was like $250 a month. We can give, not a month, sorry, a quarter,
Mm-hmm.
$250 or so a quarter, maybe like 300, that we could give to other like charities or nonprofits or just any. Like one time I think we gave money to like a family that was trying to adopt or something like that. You know, it doesn't have
Cool.
to be a full-on organization. Well, anyway, so instead of handing them that money, that's kind of boring, right?
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like if I knock on your door and hand you a check, that's cool, you're happy, but it's gonna help your organization. But if we instead take that $300 and we buy food, and then we cook it and then we sell it,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a big community event, then one, we end up making more than $300. So you usually double that, and we give them 600 instead of 300. And then two, we did a ton of marketing, a shit ton of marketing for your, because we want people to come to the event. So it tied into that marketing for the event is the organization that we're doing it for. And then there's actually we do it at a brewery in Davenport, Great River Brewery. There's a lot of people that just come to the brewery to get a beer,
Yeah.
and then they see, oh, what's this, and they learn about it. A lot of times people just donate money to it when they show up, and they don't even get any food. Like they already ate dinner maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is a nice community aspect of people. Yeah, create a little community buzz when you have that event that otherwise wouldn't have happened if I just knocked on your door and gave you a check.
Yeah. That's probably the best way to do it. Mm.
Yeah, and it's super fun. So I love cooking, and yeah, it's just a fun day. Just like get people together, and
Mm-hmm.
it takes like 2 days to cook all the food because you are cooking for like 100 people in my tiny little apartment kitchen. I'm confident I would kick ass on that. There's a cooking show where they give you like the most random
Oh yeah.
utensils and like whatever. Like I can cook. I once made soup, or what's the why am I forgetting the
Like
word?
a chili.
A roux.
Or-
A roux. So a roux that usually requires a stovetop and a pan or like a pot. And I did it on a griddle in a aluminum foil pan.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Ingenuity.
yeah, I mean anything that I needed. Yeah. Anyway, so that's a lot of fun. So Laundry Love, Give and Grub, and then we do these things. This gets a little church lingo-y, and I don't really like that, and either does Jason. But we call them missional Sundays. So actually, that's happening tomorrow. And so what we do is we find different things in the community that need to be done that are like a little bit more hands-on and like labor oriented. That this is another way for us to give back to the community without needing a big budget. This requires hardly any money at all usually when we do it. So as a group, there's like maybe 15 of us will vote, and then we'll go do something on a Sunday morning during the time when we would normally have church.
Mm-hmm.
So there's it's kind of put your money where your mouth is kind of thing, or like let your walk match your talk. But so we some examples of what we've done is we'd go to the old Arsenal Courts apartments in Rock Island. Can't remember what they're called now,
I don't know.
but they usually have a bunch of like whatever, just trash floating around. A lot of people who have littered all over. So we just
Mm.
spend a morning cleaning up that apartment complex or whatever. There's other ones where we've done an old lady maybe needs help with her yard work, and we'll just go and like,
Mm.
whatever it might be, we just go try to find stuff. And it's, again, it's fun because it's, getting your hands dirty and you're working with people, and there's a really like strong sense of community when you go through that.
I bet it feels good after you do all that stuff too.
Yeah, it does, and and sometimes you do it for Iraqi families and they cook you food
Yeah.
afterwards. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's another thing we do.
Now, if someone wanted to do the laundry love, do you have to sign up for that, or you just show up?
Are you talking about if you need your laundry done?
Yeah.
If you need your laundry done, you just show up. Um, and then there's a little bit different protocols at each location. It's based off of the person running the location.
Mm-hmm.
So we do a little bit more free for all at our location, where you just line up
Mm-hmm.
and we just go for it. The Davenport location, you get there and you put your name on a list,
Okay.
and then your name goes in a random hat, and then they pull it out. Versus kind of a lottery system,
Uh-huh.
whereas ours, it's like just whatever order you show up in,
Mm-hmm.
you get helped. But yeah, you just show up.
And for Give and Grub, people just show up. Or
Yeah, yep,
You
yeah,
hope you have enough food.
yeah. We have switched our model. I always try to make too much. In the last two, I was like, it'd be better if we sold out, right?
Yeah.
And spent less money. So yeah, last time it goes from 5 to 8. I think this was just last weekend or 2 weekends ago. We sold out of food by like 7. Yeah, which was like we actually had to run to the store and get.
It's
a
good
little
to
bit
sell
more.
out, no waste and stuff. And then
No, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
there was a couple where we wasted so much food, and I felt really bad.
Even if that happens, if you don't sell it, you can always just then donate that to a home,
Yeah,
a shelter or something, maybe.
they
or-
get pretty tricky. That's a lot harder than you think.
Yeah.
If it's not canned goods or like prepackaged goods, it's really hard just to walk in to like shelters and hand them food.
Isn't there like a program or something set up where restaurants can donate unused food?
Yeah, so
for-
there's a couple different things where expiration dates are bullshit. First of all, and so a lot of times you can donate expired food. I think restaurants do that a lot, and then um, yeah, you have to get like, it's not a certificate. That's kind of the wrong word, but like, so if you've ever worked, oh yeah, of course you've worked. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So there's all these different regulations around temp control. So like
Yeah.
if you make a big ass batch of meat, which that's what a lot of times we do, and then you put it in a Ziploc and you take it to the place. Well, it's like it's in the quote unquote in the food safety world, they say the danger zone or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just sitting there in that like bacteria zone. So if you don't have a method to like quickly cool it and keep it cold and then deliver it, you're kind of shit out of luck.
Maybe just get like a cooler with dry ice or something.
Yeah, we definitely haven't thought through that. I bet we probably could if we really wanted to find a way to donate it, if we had leftovers, but yeah.
So just sell out, man. Just
Yeah.
sell out every
Well, the
time.
shitty part about that is like then we don't. I like last time I didn't get to eat anything.
Oh no.
Yeah, it sucks.
Well,
Unless
Unless the Iraqis cook for you afterwards.
right. Yeah. Well, we started out. You ever go to Volcan in Davenport?
Nightclub or something.
It is a nightclub, but behind the nightclub, in this like fenced off area where it looks like the dumpsters would be, they sell tacos back there.
Ooh.
It's only on the weekends. It's from like 8 to 2 a.m. or something like that. So usually after the Give and Grubs, I've been cooking for 2 days, so I don't want to cook. So we go down there and get tacos usually. But yeah.
Nice. There used to be this place in Rock Island where this Mexican family served food in their garage, and they had it set up like a restaurant, and it wasn't like dirty or nothing. It was
Yeah.
like really chill and awesome, and it was delicious. Then they ended up getting shut down
Yeah.
by the city or whoever at one point.
There-
But it was really popular. A bunch of people were always there. Like I think they only did it on maybe the weekends or something. But
Yeah, no, there's a handful. I bet there's at any given moment a half a dozen of those places in existence that we don't know about.
man,
You know what I mean? Like in
if
the
only
Quad
we knew.
Cities. Yeah, there's a few people that I know. Armando Ochoa is one guy. He works for Channel 4. He always posts photos of this place that he goes to. That's definitely one of those.
Mm.
And it's kind of, it's like take this random white dude into these like, it's kind of like there's like a cultural like it's kind of weird to cross over into that world sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You're not always necessarily welcome, but yeah. Anyway, they exist for sure, and
Oh
I've
yeah.
never been to one, and it makes me really mad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although the closest I got was just last Christmas when I was trying to buy tamales. I got an address from a guy.
Mm.
I went and knocked on the back door. They didn't speak any English. They said red or green. They had 2 Ziplocs, red or green. And I was with Jake, and we said both, and they said $20, whatever, and we just walked away.
Nice.
Yeah, that was pretty
Was
amazing.
it amazing?
Oh,
Delicious.
they were. Oh, but we were eating them in the car.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Give and Grub, I always see it's posted that it's ran by the QC Food Dudes. So is that just you two? You
Yeah.
and
So
Jason?
yeah, that's me and Jake technically.
Jake, okay,
Lyle,
yeah. He always does the Give and Grub.
He hasn't the last 2, which if you look at the flyers, I've made a little joke and I say QC Food Men because that's in reference to me and Jason. Because it's like, well, it's still 2 guys, but I don't want to say QC Food Dudes because that's definitely like me and Jake. So I just changed it a little bit. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah, me and Jake started cooking together like, I don't know how long ago now, 5 years ago. And that's something we've always just done together. And yeah, that was part of it. That's like, man, we were working at a kitchen together, and then we both quit that job, and we were looking for an outlet, and we started doing like, what do they call them? Not pop-ups. Oh, supper clubs. We did a couple supper clubs that we found people who wanted to host dinner at their house,
Hmm.
and we made like a 3 or 4 course meal, and we like paired all the drinks together. Like we made some pretty fancy shit, and we were doing that for a while, and then we were trying to find another outlet for it, and that's how Give and Grub like started.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, you and Jake, did you guys meet? Because you used to be in the Beatbox Card Children. Was that how you guys met? Or did you know him
Yeah.
longer?
Yeah. So Jake,
Jake,
I
Jake
met
Lyle, the bassist, the great bassist from
the
Condor and Jaybird.
the great, yes, I was gonna say late grade, but he's not late. He's a different kind of late. He just shows up places late. The Yeah, so me and him were working at Best Buy. This would have been in 2008. We were working at Best Buy together, and that's how I met him. We were both like 18 or 19, and yeah, I would have been 19. And I was me and my other, Beatbox Card Children started with 2 people, me and my homie Jordan, and he produced the beats, and then we both rapped, and then we slowly started. We got like a drummer. We're like, okay, we'll just leave the drums off the track when we perform, and the drummer will play along to them. So we slowly we're trying to like get our live set to be more dynamic, and then we met Jake, and Jake was like, hey, I play bass. I think he was in a band that had just broke up or something like that, and he's like, hey, I play bass, and we're like, there was a guy that we knew too that was trying to, we were like practicing with here or there, trying to get him to play guitar, and he was like, hey, I play bass, and we're like, oh, if we could get him to play bass. Well, anyway, he had a friend who played guitar, and he was like, hey, I got a friend that plays guitar too, he's sick. So we were like, well, shit, so we had to go back and we had to learn. So Jordan would make beats with samples,
Mm-hmm.
and so we had to go back as a group and learn these songs, how to play them, play the sample,
Yeah.
which was really fun. But we started running into all these issues where like there was random so drum, guitar, bass. Well, we wanted to get away from the track altogether,
Mm-hmm.
but there was these random like collection of bits, like a second guitar part, a piano part, a synth part, a tambourine, whatever they mean,
Yeah.
like these like random. So I then switched and was this like whatever. I would switch what I was playing 4 or 5 times in a given set, and I stopped rapping, and so we just went to one front man who was rapping, and then we all learned this. He was still like a lot of times programmed the beats even like as time went on, and we would just learn the samples.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple songs we had where we would write them, but not very many. But yeah,
Hell
yeah,
yeah.
that's that yeah. So we met at. That's a long way to say we met at Best Buy.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah. I remember those days when you worked there. A long
yeah,
time ago. Yeah.
yeah. And he's been man. He's A1 since day one. Like he is one of those guys who I've been. So we've been friends for a decade. And he's like a brother in a lot of ways. And there's been different times in those 10 years where like we maybe 6 months, maybe 2 years where we don't talk to each other at all,
Mm-hmm.
or like here or there.
Yeah.
And then there's 2 years when we're like, inseparable.
Oh, yeah.
So that's just how it is when you're friends with someone for a long time.
Right, right.
But yeah, that's the homie for sure.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe that. Like, I remember you told me a little while ago that you were in Beatbox Carleton. I was like, what the fuck? Because I seen you guys way back
Yeah.
a long time ago. Like, it was at RME, I think. Not in
Okay.
the Redstone room, but the hall next to it or
Yep.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I seen you guys at least once, and it was tight. It was really clean and shit.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that gig. Wasn't there somebody, I don't know if you stayed around, but there was someone afterwards that played a set with a trumpet, and they were really sick too.
Man.
I have just the vaguest memory of that.
Maybe.
But yeah, that was a really fun time. That was a really fun band to be in,
Yeah.
Like we weren't like party rap or like, but our vibe on stage was like that.
Hell yeah.
It was just a big party. We would always do this song at the very end of every set where I would actually play an xylophone, and we would. It is a song called "Shake Your Pants." I think was the name of it, and it was totally just like, all right, this is the last song. This is your last chance to just like lose your mind and just dance and go nuts. And so we would try to get people to come up on stage with us and dance with us. So a lot of times I'd be like dancing and like trying to play the xylophone above my head. Luckily I'm tall, so but like I mean, I could have like busted someone's head open
Yeah.
with this thing, and we're like getting knocked over and whatever. But yeah, that band was a lot of fun for sure.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I miss it.
How long was it together?
Maybe like 3 years or something like that. I think we broke up like 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of, we were super young, so we were like at that time like 21, 22. But the dude he was the guy who started it, and he was the guy who made all the beats and wrote all the raps. He was older. He's like 30, and he had his first kid.
Mm.
And he was just couldn't like keep. We wouldn't go on tour, but we'd take like whatever 4 or 5 day trip to Wisconsin and like stop in Rockford, stop wherever, Eau Claire, hit all these different spots, and then come back. But he couldn't keep doing that, and that
Yeah.
we were all like, that's what we want to do,
Yeah.
So it came to an end.
It's a
But
damn shame.
kids ruin everything,
Oh,
man.
no. Now, were you in bands before that or since?
Oh, okay. So I was not since first. Me and Jake tried to do a couple different things. Never anything serious. A lot of it was just jamming, like in my parents' garage or whatever in my apartment later on. But like we never really. We kind of like loosely recorded like what would be considered demo tracks, but they weren't. We never really were gonna do anything with them. We'd set up a microphone and like play and be like, okay, that's an idea. We got that idea on the shelf, but we were never gonna do anything with that. Before that, so when I was 16, I was in high school. I hated school. Me and a group of my friends were really into hip hop, like really, really into hip hop, and I mean that hasn't changed. But so I was like, damn, all right, I'm gonna get an illegal copy of Fruity Loops. This was like before Fruity Loops was Fruity Loops.
Yeah.
This is in '04 or
Oh,
whatever. And start learning how to make beats. So I started programming my own beats. And then my parents had a Sony digital camera. And this was like the Nokia cell phone, brick cell phone of digital cameras. It's like right when they started becoming a thing. And, but it would record video, like this really shitty video. Well, what we would do is I program a beat, and then I'd hit record on the video camera, and I would rap into the video camera, and then I'd take that file, put it on my computer, and just take the audio out of it.
Mm.
So this is how I was recording. So
Interesting.
I had two CDs with me and my friend. His name, it's actually my sister's boyfriend. His name was Luke Hole. He went by Holywood, and my last name's Carleton, so I went by Carlton of Beats. And we called ourselves the Dead Beats. This was in 2004, so it sounds super
Nice.
corny now, but then it was like,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, we had like two CDs or so that we came out with these like just terrible songs.
Where are those at? Where can I get a copy?
You know who has a copy? I bet my mom still has a copy or something like that. I cannot find. I don't have a copy of it. I don't want a copy of it because it was really bad.
Yeah.
You know, but like we wrote songs about. We had a song. It was a love song to a cheeseburger. We had a song. We had a lot of songs about how shitty our cars were. Uh, yeah, like we just, they're just like the cheesiest.
It sounds great though. It sounds like good ideas. That'd be pretty funny.
Yeah, we're totally trying to be funny.
Yeah.
It wasn't like serious, like whatever. No serious content whatsoever.
Right.
They were all like joke songs. Like Lonely Island, but in 2004.
Yeah.
Maybe they got a copy of it and we inspired them.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's dope. That's awesome. Now you also are involved with a quarterly event called Different.
Yes. So Different. Well, it started as a quarterly event, and we did 2. And because I haven't had Jason holding the clipboard for me as much as he has on the other events, it hasn't happened the 3rd quarter. We're trying to do it pretty soon here, but yeah. So these events are started by, sparked by an idea of. Have you heard of these like abandoned warehouse theaters like in New York? Does this?
I don't know.
Okay, so let me paint you a picture, right? Which, if we could pull this off in the Quad Cities, would be the dopest thing ever. So, where it stems from is this idea of the theater, like Broadway or just any like play type thing, being. Sounds really pretentious, and I'm not an actor, but being like too boring for the actors. There's not enough like action. There's not enough. A lot of them are improv actors that like want something more exciting. So they do these different things where you get basically. You remember the SNL skit with Tom Hanks and he was in the elevator? Do you remember this? It was
I don't think so.
Mr. Oh gosh. Anyway, okay, it's fine then. Well, anyway, so basically what it is you get a ticket. A lot of times it's with a group, and there's like an abandoned building, and you walk through it, and in different rooms there's different things happening. So you could go in any order you want from room to room. B, you could be in there as long as you want, and then C, sometimes you don't know if the people in the group with you are actors or not. So okay, so like here's an example: is you walk in a room, and everything in the room, including the actors, is interactable with. So you walk into a room and it's a set designed to look like a bedroom, and there's a couple arguing, and then over on the like a dresser, there's like a love note that you can like pick up and read, and it like kind of gives you a backstory of what's happening.
Ooh.
There's a knife. There's a knife, and you can like go and hand it to one of the actors if you want.
What?
So and then you go to another room, and there's a whole nother thing happening. One example I heard was there's this is a friend of mine who went to one. He said that he walked in, and there's this. It looks like some sort of like canvas material, but it's like also looks like a hide or like a skin, like it's really tan, and it's stretched out maybe like 15 feet wide by like 10 feet high, and there's these lights projecting against the back of it, so kind of creating like a shadow effect. Well, you're sitting there in the room and you're kind of waiting to figure out what the heck's gonna happen, and all of a sudden you hear like a thump, thump. Well, they're like throwing some like mud or clay or plaster up against this thing, and then they go and then they have these little tools like a stick or whatever, and they like kind of paint within that clay that's been thrown up against the canvas, and they tell a story with it. There's
Mm.
music playing, and then someone comes and squeegees it all off, and they throw more up there, and they like so. It's just people telling a story on a canvas. Then he said he goes in another room, and there's all these like different types of bottles and like growlers, like Colgan bottles, all these different. They're in like a U shape, and in the middle of the U is a woman wearing like a big flowing dress, and she's like crumpled over, like you can hardly tell if there's really a human there. It just looks like a pile of fabric.
Mm.
Well, all of a sudden, water starts dripping from the ceiling. Well, they're dripping into all these containers, and so all these containers are certain notes that you would like play on a piano, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So they start dripping this water in this certain
Mm.
rhythm, and it makes a song, and she just like starts dancing. And you go in another room, you know, whatever. Like,
Yeah, that's crazy.
um, wouldn't that be dope?
That'd be yeah, that's really awesome. Like a interactive. Wow, that's
Yeah, you
crazy.
have no idea. Yeah, like, and like he told us some examples where like there was an actor with him, and the actor like turned on the crowd and started like acting like he was part of the crowd, but he was mad about the play or whatever. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
Like adding these different elements in. But so my very very dumbed down version of that is different. I knew I couldn't have the time or capacity or even know how to do uh, a full fledged experience in an abandoned building, which the Quad Cities has plenty of. Um, so I was thinking what would be better would be to create some sort of immersive experience the best that I can, which was different. So what different is it's designed to be as many different types of art presented to a group as possible, um, around one common theme. So it's not a spoken word event. It's not an event where, or you know, a show where a bunch of bands get up with the same genre. It's not a play. It's not a video screening. It's not any of that. It's all of that thrown in together and paced out really kind of in rapid succession.
Mm.
And it's just supposed to immerse people in this, whatever the theme is. So you get exposure to, and the main difference to for what we do is a lot of it's about story. So I'm a really big believer in people's unique stories, and that every person like story is 100%, not 100% unique, but like everybody's you know has something meaningful to say and meaningful to contribute to a conversation. So a lot of it is we pick a theme. So in the past we've picked mental health, which is
Mm-hmm.
the one that you were so helpful with and came and performed. And then the other one was on race. So it was trying to get different people up on stage to give their artistic expression on those topics.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. What what's your idea for maybe the next one?
We have two different things that keep going back and forth. So, and I want to tread carefully here because the uh, area in general is experiencing some different, let's just say, different issues with sexual harassment, things like that. And so that was one thing I wanted to talk about with sexual abuse and sexual harassment. Um, the other one would be shit. What was the other one? Oh, just like the LGBTQ community in general, giving
Mm-hmm.
them a place to get up and share their story and share their experience. Our area has very kind of gone away from that a little bit because there's a certain element to what we're doing that needs to be against the norm. You know what I mean? Like a
Yeah.
little controversial.
Yeah.
If you really want to challenge people, then you can't. You know, if you get up and say everybody loves puppies, it's like okay, boring.
Mm-hmm.
In our area, I think American culture in general has a long ways to go with our the way we interact with the LGBT community, but the Quad Cities in specific has like a huge support. It's a very supporting area, which is
Mm-hmm.
one thing I love about our area. So it's a little less. I guess what I wouldn't want to have happen is this sounds so. I'd be happy actually to see this happen on one end, but it'd be really against the idea of different if everyone got up and was like, man, the Quad Cities has been so welcoming, which I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's everybody's story.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone has their own individual, like coming out to their parents or whatever that might be,
Mm-hmm.
that is really tough for them. Uh, but anyway, so that's kind of where I'm at. I'm trying to think through those two different things because on the other end, sexual harassment, sexual abuse, that's really like that's almost too not too controversial, but like getting people to bear their story about that on stage.
Mm-hmm.
That's you have to be in a like that's a really hard place to be at where you're willing to get up and talk about it. You know.
Yeah, for a lot of different subjects, it's hard for people. Like even with the mental health, I'm sure it would be hard
Yeah.
for people to get up and talk about that or whatever. Yeah,
The
harassment.
the only difference is that, and again, I'm speaking from such a privileged place as someone who hasn't experienced sexual harassment and someone who hasn't experienced discrimination based off of my sexual preferences. But the only difference between the mental health thing and sexual harassment is there's no like legality. You're not going to be in legal trouble if you get up and talk. There's no like legal ramification if you get up and say I have depression. But
Mm-hmm.
if you get up and say fucking Joe Blow over here touched me
Yeah.
inappropriately. I highly doubt they're gonna be in the room. But like, there's this whole nother level of like,
Is that something you don't want to happen? Like calling out people? You
yeah,
want to just talk about what happened? Maybe like
yeah, really personal. Like,
person A, unnamed or something.
yeah, or
Like,
not even that. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's not that it doesn't matter. And again, I don't want to say anything that's like insensitive. It's not that it doesn't matter who did it. It's that at that event, because I think that that's a very important part of a survivor's story is like naming like yes this individual did this to me,
mm-hmm.
and that yeah that's really important. But I guess for the type of event that I would want to see would be something a little bit more, and I'm really happy you're asking me these questions because I'm like it's helping me process this.
Good.
Would be something that's a little bit more like this made me come to terms with certain parts of who I am
Yeah.
and what I am about and what my life is about. And it was an area of extreme, two things. Well, either A, it's an area of extreme pain and grief, and I'm still in that and I'm still processing that. And I want to give people room to do that. Or B, I came through this time of grieving and of mourning, and it's been I've grown through it, and now I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
Those are like kind of two example stories that I'd be really interested to like hear, and I give people space to tell.
Yeah.
Because the whole point of it is really, I said this before on stage, and this is gonna sound like I stole it from the movement, but I said this before the movement started, the Me Too movement.
Mm-hmm.
I said, for the very first one, that like I wanted this whole event to be a collective Me Too. That's the point of the night, is to have it be a comforting time for people who attend and be like, me too, I have mental whatever. I have mental health issues too, or I've been sexually abused too, or I've been discriminated against too. And it's comforting to hear someone else get on stage and say that.
Mm-hmm.
Representation to me is like one of the big topic that I've been thinking about lately. You know that BoJack Horseman is asexual?
Really? Really? Who said?
Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah.
The show creators said?
Oh, no, not BoJack. The dude that lives with him. It's not
Oh,
BoJack.
his roommate.
Yeah,
What's his name? Todd or something?
Todd. Yes, Todd. Todd is asexual. So there's a
Yeah, because that was like, the girl's like hitting on him in the show or whatever.
and he's like, I don't know what to do. I don't feel that like I'm feeling the right emotions or whatever. But I was listening to a podcast. It's called Nancy. Super good podcast. and there was I think the person was like 35, maybe 40, and her whole life knew something was different about her and didn't know what. She just knew she was different. And she's watching this. I mean, all due respect because I love the show, but she's watching this dumbass cartoon, and she's like, "Holy shit, I'm asexual."
Wow.
I
It took that show to make her realize?
Yeah,
Huh.
and it spoke to me on so many levels about the importance of representation. Like we look to our books, our movies, our TV shows, our magazines, or whatever, to see ourselves in other people. And there's a lot of people out there that never get that opportunity to
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I identify with it. It's made me think about that too. Like you think about Black Panther, why that was so important. But in the very least, you could if you were a race that you don't see yourself very often with on TV, you might not see that, but you might see someone in love, and you're like, oh, I've been in love before.
Mm-hmm.
I can identify with a love story. I can't identify with these two white people, but I can identify with a love story. But think about that if you're asexual. I mean, name me a movie or a show that probably the odds of it not having a love story wrapped in are pretty slim.
Yeah.
And so everything you watch is these people falling in love, and like your world just doesn't make sense until you watch fucking BoJack Horseman.
Wow, like, cause that's crazy how you said that lady who was asexual realized that just from watching that, and like
Yeah,
I watched the show and I guess I didn't even grasp that myself. Like I didn't
yeah.
think, yeah,
It's like the end of
asexual.
season 2, and I think it's one of the end episodes, if I remember right. She said she just started like bawling down, like crying, just like holy shit, that's me. I figured out what's wrong with not wrong with me, but I figured out why I felt so different for so long
Yeah,
watching BoJack.
man. Yeah, sexuality is crazy too. I know you can relate with being so busy balancing different projects and stuff. It's like, man, I almost wish I was asexual just so I didn't have to spend my energy on dealing with that whole aspect of my life.
Yes, yes,
If I
that
felt
is.
like if I was asexual, I could just fucking take over the world. I wouldn't have these, like desires or things
Yeah,
like, in the back
no,
of my mind pushing me towards,
I've totally had that exact same thought, and not even that, but just like, yeah, there is. So this came up not that long ago where I had a crazy weekend where we had event after event after event. It was a Give and Grub. It was Mother's Day, and then we get to the end of the weekend, and my wife, her name's Amanda. She's like, "Well, that was a shitty weekend. Like I didn't see you at all." It's like, man, I'm doing all these great quote unquote great things,
mm-hmm.
but I'm actually being a shitty husband.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, how do I? Well, gosh, like, what's a priority there?
Make her come with you. Put her ass to work. All
She
right, you're
was, no,
cooking
she
this.
was there. She
She
was
was
there. Don't
there.
worry. Yeah,
She wanted personal time,
yeah. Well,
huh?
not even that. Just like whenever me being mentally present in a room, where I'm not just like focused on a task,
Yeah, yeah.
and when you're leading or managing a project of that caliber or that size, you're keeping a dozen plates spinning at a time. Like you don't
Mm-hmm.
have. If she was dropping any sort of hint about being unhappy, I bet she was all weekend. I didn't even notice,
Right, yeah.
And then the weekend's over, and then it's finally like, well, that sucked, But anyway, yeah, that's definitely something I'm aware of for sure.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, so you're also a podcaster yourself. You have Ode to the Underdog.
yes, yeah. I forgot about that too. Yeah, Ode to the Underdog. This is actually back to me loving people's stories. This is something me and a local artist named Aubrey. He's become a pretty good friend of mine. Me and him started it, and talk about person with the clipboard. Aubrey is the person with the clipboard. He schedules a lot of the interviews and um, keeps me motivated to keep recording episodes. He's always like, "We got to get more recorded. We got to get more
Mm-hmm.
recorded." But yeah, so me and Aubrey sit down with people in the Quad Cities that typically don't have a microphone in front of them
Mm-hmm.
and that are doing really cool work. Typically, it's
Like the
people.
people with the clipboard,
Yes.
like that might not have a mic.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's such good synergy. Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, definitely the clipboard holders of the community that are doing really great unnoticed work, and just ask them about it and let them tell their story. Sometimes it's just cool people. We just try to talk to people and be like, hey, you are cool. Let's talk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's, I mean, we've had like 30 episodes recorded, and maybe like 3 or 4 people are just random ass people who we wanted to talk to. The rest are people, you know, like you, that's hustling, trying to do so many different things, and are people who are trying to start, you know, people are trying to start businesses or have started businesses and are like, this is super hard, you know. That was a lot of it. Was we knew that the Quad Cities was a very specific sized market
Mm-hmm.
that has very specific challenges, and if it could be a help to other people trying to do things, you know, here, or like, you know, I always think of like Omaha, or I don't know, like Tulsa, Oklahoma. I don't know, these places that are like somewhat big areas, but they're not like Chicago.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
they're 350, whatever, half a million, and they have a small town feel, but a big town feel.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, how do you do stuff in those communities successfully? Uh, and so that our goal was that people would be able to listen and be like, oh, that you know, whatever, it would empower them to be able to go do whatever they're trying to do in their
Mm-hmm.
community, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Now you also did We Are Probably Wrong podcast. Are you still doing that, or is that are you focused
Holy
on
shit,
Ode
bro,
to the
you're
Underdog?
going deep. I feel like this is Nardwar or whatever. You got all these deep cuts on me. Yeah, so We Are Probably Wrong has not officially ceased to exist, but it unofficially has. So it was 3 people: me, my brother-in-law, his name's Dan, and then my friend Jason, who I've been mentioning.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Jason both had kids, and then Dan, him and my sister have adopted 4 kids now, and they just
Mm.
got, in the last 5 months, just got a infant, a 3 week old. And so it's just like an impossibility to
Yeah.
like, we try so hard to record episodes. We've scheduled and canceled 100 times. So it hasn't, we're not officially done with it, but and that one, to tie back all the way to where we started, that podcast was about that journey, was the 3 of us going through this journey of leaving paradigms behind
Mm-hmm.
and trying to figure out where to go next with that,
Mm-hmm.
and the difficulties that um, are associated with it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting having a podcast with like 4 hosts, if you will. Like, you know, all 4. It was 4 you guys.
Just
Was it just
3.
3? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, just the 3 you guys. I'm sure that's a little bit harder trying to get everyone on the same schedule for recording and
Yes.
stuff. You know,
Yeah.
getting that
Yeah.
all to work out.
Yeah. And we would record. So it actually just started because we would get together a lot and just smoke cigars and drink whiskey and just talk about whatever. And then one of us had the idea of like, I bet there's other people trying to figure this shit out too. We should just post it, you know, as a podcast. And I was like, oh, I can set up a 1 microphone in the middle of the room and hit record. That's not very much work.
Mm-hmm.
And the audio quality kind of sucked because of that. And the content actually kind of, you could tell. And we'd talk for like 3 hours. It'd be like, we'd try to break it up to like hour-long episodes, but you could tell by hour 3 when we're just like slurring our words.
Yeah.
And like falling asleep, because we'd always do it like at 9 p.m. and we're not used to being up super late.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's a lot of reasons why that kind of has slowed down. But yeah, that podcast, I wish, we should try to start doing it again.
When did you start that one?
It would have been 2 years ago, this upcoming like October or something like that. So 18 months ago or something like that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And now your involvement with the Connection Church.
Yes.
I've seen you've done podcasts through that channel.
Yeah. Yep. So Connection is officially no longer a church.
Really?
So Connection, not that we've ceased to exist. We got our 501c3. So in the government eyes, we are no longer a church. We're a nonprofit.
Okay.
in the
Wasn't
community.
that how a church runs as a nonprofit? Or
There's a religious nonprofit and
oh
a
yeah,
non-religious nonprofit.
okay.
Um, there's different tax exemptions. They technically it kind of falls under the same umbrella.
Why wouldn't it be religious nonprofit if it was a church?
Okay, a couple of reasons. Okay, so this just gets into the weeds of running a church. So this is what a lot of people don't know, I think, is that when you call yourself a non-denominational church, you're actually part of the denomination called non-denominational.
Hmm.
Isn't that the most? Yeah. So
It's
you.
like atheism is a religion,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. So it's not exactly that cut and dry, but that's
Yeah.
kind of how it works on paper. You have to so to be a church, you have to. I'm not an expert in this at all, but we were part of a denomination. Being a part of that denomination meant a couple different things. One, a percentage of our any money that was donated to us had to be given to the denomination.
Mm.
So when you have a really small group, that so just to be transparent, I think our budget is like $3,000 a month, and we never reached that. So so if you're struggling to get, and you have all these different things you're trying to do, like we're trying to do, well, if you're making if you're getting $100,000 donated a month, well, whatever, 10% of that, you can still do a lot with 90,000.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody, this is basic budgeting. If you you don't make a lot of money, $100 out of 1,000 though, 900 versus 1,000, that's a lot bigger of a dent.
Yeah.
I mean, like mathematically it's the same, but how it works in the real world,
Yeah.
that's a lot. So that's part of why we wanted to leave that denomination for that reason, and also because we don't agree with a lot of what they believe in.
Mhm.
We're continually leaving behind. Low hanging fruit would be, their stance on gay marriage or their stance on abortion, and then some of the higher hanging fruit would be like believing in a literal resurrection of Christ and things like that. Like we're leaving behind these real, and I don't want to speak for everybody that attends our church or anything like that, or even Jason, but this is just something that as a church we've been trying to, or as a community, we've been trying to like rid ourselves of some of these hard and fast rules that are so a good example is we do that event, we do Give and Grub at a brewery. Well, we got word from the people that run the denomination that we can't market that we have an event at a brewery. It's things like that, because it's, what if an alcoholic sees it and then goes to your church or whatever? It's just shit like that. Well, anyway, so it's like, well, maybe we should go to a different denomination. Well, we looked not too crazy, like not too like in depth, but we did research a little bit, and we're like, we really don't belong in any denomination.
Mm-hmm.
So we could become a non-denominational church. Well, that still requires some level of like, you have to be registered as that somewhere.
Non-denomination is a denomination.
Yeah, it's really ridiculous. Well, so we were like, well, we actually are way more along the lines of just a traditional nonprofit than we are with a church.
So it just made sense for you guys to do it that way.
Yeah. So we literally maybe 2 months ago finalized that paperwork. It's just been the next step in the evolution of who we are and what we're trying to be about,
Mm-hmm.
So there's people, let me put it this way. There's people in the Quad Cities that would say, I go to a church and it's called Connection. And there's people in the Quad Cities that say, I have a pastor and his name's Jason, or I have a pastor and his name's Brandon. But we do not, there's certain worlds where like you have to, like, it's like disrespectful not to call people pastor blah blah blah. No one on a Sunday morning would address me or Jason as, hey pastor. Like, that is not what our community is like.
And then, please don't call me that.
No, seriously. And then there is probably a larger percentage of people that don't know we're a church and don't know we're pastors, but know about Give and Grub, and they know about Laundry Love, and they know about different, and they know that connection's involved with it somehow, but they're not entirely sure. And that's kind of how we wanted it. The what we didn't want, a lot of places. Okay, so let me tell you a story from 3 or 4 years ago when we started Laundry Love, and we're still very much in this world of church. There was people, and they have since left the church, who said, I don't think Laundry Love's a very good idea because we're not getting any new members from Laundry Love. So in other words, anything we do in the community needs to serve as a marketing effort for the to get more members into the church. And that's we're like, well, no, that's not.
Yeah, yeah,
We're in the community because we want to help people out, and
yeah.
we want to give back, not because we want to grow our church. And so we've actually made a pretty. We don't dissociate ourselves from it. If you see a Give and Grub poster, it'll say sponsored by Connection because we're paying for it. But we don't say. We also whatever, like we don't really like market ourselves as being a part of it.
Yeah.
Different in Laundry Love, actually I hardly have any. You could go to Laundry Love and walk out and not know it was run by Connection. You could definitely go to Different and not know that it was a part of the thought team of Jason and I. The Give and Grubs, other than the posters, same thing. I don't think you would necessarily, other than the fact that on our Facebook pages we're promoting them like crazy. So the podcast, the Connection podcast, well, me and Jason share. We split the responsibilities of. Gets really like jargony, and I hate it. We share the responsibility of speaking on Sunday morning, but that is nothing like what most people imagine when they hear that. So when I say speaking on Sunday morning, typically what that means, and there's usually about 15 of us, and we sit around a table, and we do a couple different things. So we read what we call modern day parables. So they're not really religious in nature, but they make you just kind of like think about life in general, and how you navigate through it and how you are positioned in it. And then me or Jason will not stand up a lot of times and like talk while everyone's facing us and listening. We will do like a 5 to 10 minute primer on like, hey, I've been thinking about this. Here's some of my entry level thoughts. Let's have a discussion about it. And then the whole table will chime in, and we get people. We have people. I think the oldest person's 75, and then the youngest person's 8. Like then they're chiming in. You know what I mean? Then we have high schoolers that are chiming in, like, oh, this is where I see what you guys are talking about at high school. Or the 8-year-old, this is where I see it happening literally at recess, what you guys are talking about. And so it's actually loosely modeled after Socratic seminars, which is exactly what they would, Socrates would, like, they would be in a square basically, and they would kind of like cross debate, and they would have people behind them actually that were like in their corner, kind of like, oh, you should mention this or whatever. So it's kind of loosely modeled after that, where it's like propose a topic and let's debate. It really is a debate, because we have some people that are like, I believe blah blah, like they're like actually really religious, and then there's a guy there that's fresh out of AA, and Alcoholics Anonymous is very much they talk about a higher power, but their whole joke is that your higher power could be the doorknob. It doesn't have to be, you know what I mean? It's just whatever you are like using to kind of position yourself in the world. And so he pushes back a lot against the religious person who's talking about this bearded guy in the sky when they talk about God. And then there's like me, who's somewhere kind of in between there and trying to figure it out. So it's like all these different people chiming in. And then on the podcast, I kind of try to synthesize that conversation. And so typically I'll give my 10 minutes worth that I said on Sunday morning, and then I'll have some new thoughts based off of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh man, they made me think about that completely differently. And then depending on what people share, I'll say, oh, someone was there and they said this, and it was
Yeah.
really like enlightening or whatever.
Right.
So that's what, which it's totally it's so watered down from the dynamics of. It's kind of like what I was talking about different, where it's kind of like a Wild West where someone could just get up and be like, this guy, you know what I mean? Like someone could get up. They have the freedom to say whatever they want. I do not, when we do difference, I don't ask people, well, what are you going to say? I need to read it first, or I need to,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, yeah, get up and share your story. And it's like, who knows? I'm basically just hoping that I'm asking them based off of, I've seen you maybe, or I have a hunch that when you get on stage, it's not going to suck.
Yeah.
you know, that's it. So it's the same thing on Sunday morning. Is like people, you never know. It's like Wild West. It's literally the Wild West. You never know what someone's gonna say or what direction it's gonna go in. And so it's really like maybe I'm weird, but I think it's fun.
Yeah.
You know.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Yeah, I've listened to a couple of the podcasts you've done through the Connection channel, and
Yeah.
those were like you did them solo, just by yourself. Is that how it always is, or is it like you and Jason, or
So
some are just him? Or
it's never me and Jason together.
okay,
It's just whoever, and we're pretty shit. We do a pretty bad job of uploading them. we just it's just one more thing that we always forget about. But so the right now connection maybe has like 100 episodes uploaded, and maybe 15 of those are mine. And a lot of that's because I'm really bad about uploading it whenever it's my turn to share. But the other 85 are Jason. And if you're listening to this, I will give a word of warning, and I would say this if he was here, and he would say this if he was here. They're going to be a little bit more religious. He is a little. It's funny because I'll have people ask me about what, or maybe think that Jason and I believe these very different things.
yeah,
We don't at all. We actually believe almost everything, like not everything, but a lot of things. Like we're really close on what we think. But he is way more comfortable with his vocabulary than I am.
yeah,
If that makes any sense. So like I never hardly ever use the word God. It's because the baggage that comes with it, and I'm always projecting onto our guessing what the person I'm talking to or the group I'm talking to, when they hear God, I'm like, oh, what do they think?
yeah.
Because it really is. If there's 20 people in the room, they're thinking of 20 different things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm a little bit more literal when it comes to that, whereas Jason will say God, and he 100% means it as a metaphor for whatever kind of your higher power is.
Mm-hmm.
But he's okay with. So what I don't want is I don't like the idea of someone being like, oh, he means this angry bearded man in the sky. I don't want people to think that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Whereas Jason's like, if they think that, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, that's not what I believe, but they can think I believe that.
Right, right.
So he's a little bit more comfortable, or more frequently uses a little bit more the traditional church vocabulary than I'm comfortable using.
Mm-hmm.
But like we very much believe a lot of the same things, you know.
That's cool that he's comfortable and you're like, you stray away from that. It's kind of like a yin and yang with you two.
I never thought about that way.
So,
I kind of just got goosebumps. Yeah, that's right. That's why I love Jason.
yeah.
Is he's so
Balance each other.
Yeah.
And whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, he pushes me to. So there's a term in the religious world, and maybe it's in other worlds, I just don't know, but it's a term called deconstruction. So deconstructing your faith, and that is typically visualized as like tearing down a house. And what Jason always pushes me to do is not just to go through a neighborhood and tear down all the houses, but stop tearing down houses for a day and maybe see what you can build with what you just tore down.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you don't have to build a new house, but maybe you can like build a little couch or something. You know, like
Yeah.
what's the point of going through life just saying like that shit, that shit, that shit. I hate all this. I don't agree with any of this. And he's like, okay, well, that's cool, and that's a necessary thing to figure out to speak negatively in a sense about no, no, I don't like that. No, I don't like that. No, I don't like that. But to eventually you have to say, well, I do like this. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
at some point you have to. It's just a kind of an unhealthy way to go through life. And then I balance him out where he says he'll start, you know, and to keep the analogy, he'll start talking about how beautiful this house is, and I'll be like, hey man, that foundation's kind of like crumbling. I think you should just tear it down.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're right. I probably should just tear it down. You know. So yeah, we definitely balance each other out like that, which is you're right. That's I'm gonna be thinking about that.
Yeah.
That's super cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good for both of you guys, like that you
Yeah.
work together like that and you bring that vibe, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is. I feel really. I don't know right now. That's really cool.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Now, are you still doing like independent content creation, like Brandon Carleton content creation stuff?
No. So I was running my own business. I started about 5 years ago part time. About 3 years ago, I went full time. Quit my other full time job, and I was doing graphic design, video work. I got a contract with this organization in Chicago. This is actually just 2 years ago. It was started at the beginning of May, and 2 years ago. So this it was a nonprofit based out of Chicago, but it was national. It was called the National Center for Teacher Residencies. So there's a growing epidemic. Ask any teacher. They have their student teaching experience was probably really shitty. First of all, second of all, if theirs wasn't, they could tell you literal horror stories from people they know. So what if you imagine what student teaching should look like? You know, what would that include? Like standing in front of a class and like learning how to teach.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where there's some teachers who I don't know how they've made it into being a teacher. Like they had to have they had to be very resilient. Um, where they were literally the equivalent of a assistant of like, all right,
Yeah.
go get the coffee.
Yeah.
I got to run this errand. Actually, I got to take a letter, send it, I got to mail off this package. Can you go do that for me? They
Mm-hmm.
literally become like personal assistants for teachers sometimes.
Yeah.
They're also, not to throw every teacher under the bus, but some teachers are just unbelievably overwhelmed, and it's like I'm supposed to have a para educator or like a behavioral therapist in my room, and I don't. Your job's to sit with whatever Timmy over here who's got these behavioral issues, and
Mm-hmm.
you're his best friend for the semester, and
Yeah.
you don't teach. um, and so they enter the classroom completely unprepared. So the National Center for Teacher Residencies worked with different people to partner with colleges and um, the training sites where they're actually doing the student teaching to make that experience better. So it's based off of the clinical model in like medical residencies. So like
Mm-hmm.
you spend a year as a resident in a hospital, like doing the work of a doctor, and being like literally spending every waking hour next to the doctor, not getting the coffee. I'm sure sometimes they still have to get the coffee. Well, anyway, the average student teaching amount of time they spend in a class student teaching is like 6 weeks, whereas the organization I was working for was setting it up where they spent an entire year in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
So the average teacher, you walk into a classroom, they've hardly ever spent one day leading a classroom. So day one, hired, you're a new teacher, go teach this class. You've never done it before.
Probably feel like a substitute, like you're just walking in.
Oh, jeez. And we wonder, why our system's so fucked up. So,
Yeah, that's
uh,
one big problem
yeah,
with many other problems.
yeah.
Man.
So it was really meaningful work. So I was working with them for 18 months. And so what they would do is, let's say you were like, oh, that sounds amazing. I want to go talk to Augustana. and I want to go talk to this grade school over here, and I want to set up a program like this. Well, you have to think about hiring a staff. You have to think about how do you budget for that? How do you recruit schools coming out of, our students coming out of high school or college? To how do you like market your program? All these different things.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they would do is they would fly in. You said, "Hey, I want to do this thing." Well, they would either fly in and do a 1 week long or 2 week long course training you how to do it, or you would fly in and attend like a 2 week course in a centralized city. Well, that's really ineffective because that means you have to have 2,000. You can miss 2 weeks of work, and you have whatever all this money to attend a conference and fly whatever.
Yeah.
That's not very. You know, most people don't have that capability. So what they hired me to do was to take this 2 week course and turn it all into animated videos with voice actors. So I had to take their PowerPoint decks and make it write a script, and then have a voice actor record the script, and then I had to animate the video of like characters coming on screen and talking and stuff like that, teaching this 2 week course. So through that, I was at the time before that, so I was like having, 5, 6 clients a month doing all these short jobs, and then this was a full-time job for 18 months, but it was going to come to an end.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was trying to like keep other clients and trying to like juggle it all, but it kept getting harder and harder.
Yeah.
And I didn't I had no need to have more clients. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
paying me a pretty good amount of money, so I was like, I have no motivation to like keep up this 60-hour work week. Well, anyway, so that came to an end, and I was like, well, what am I gonna do? Because all my phone actually. This is such an old school line. My phone kept ringing. Like people kept asking me to do work, and I have to keep telling them no and no and
Mm-hmm.
no. Well, I got done with that contract, and I had the option to go back to hustle and try to like get all these independent contracts and piece together a salary. Well, that didn't sound very attractive to me.
Yeah.
After that 18 months.
Oh yeah.
So there's a similar company. Through NCTR, I met someone. Her name is Shanti. She is local. She lives in Moline, and she started her own education company that does very similar things. And so it's not totally similar. It's actually not that similar at all, other than it involves education and teachers. But she needed someone to do almost the exact same thing, and I had already been doing it for NCTR, so she hired me to full time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same kind of work. I'm doing graphic design.
Yeah.
I'm making videos. I made the website. You know what I mean? It's all the
Mm-hmm.
exact same kind of work, but instead of having a bunch of clients, I'm just basically have one client.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I bet that's good to help you put out good work without having to worry about the schedule as far as a bunch of different independent clients and stuff too. So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah. And there's something as I get older, I enjoy longevity. Like not longevity, but like I used to want to be. I'm like, so if I was trying to get something done, let's say I'm working on a music video for a band, I would say, this is gonna be the best music video ever. Let's hurry up and get this done. Let's like, oh, I really want this. Oh, well, that's gonna take 3 weeks. I don't want to wait 3 weeks. We'll do this other thing. It's not as good, but we can do it right now and not in 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that micro decision of right now versus 3 weeks, you apply that to an entire project like a music video, and you end up getting a music video done in 3 weeks. Whereas if you chose the other option, the longer option, it would have been a year or something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that year-long video is going to be 100 times better than the 3 week video.
Yeah.
And there's of course balance there. You don't want to take 1 year per music video if you're a band. Like that's not very good. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're gonna. But anyway, but that second option of like really taking a year and doing solid work and doing multiple drafts and like refining and refining and refining, that to me has become way more my jam than just let's get content out, no matter how
Yeah.
good it is.
Yeah.
You know, and that applies to a bunch of different things. Same thing with different. Like we could have done another different by now, but it probably would have been pretty shitty.
Hmm.
And I want to like really put my time into planning it and scheduling it, and to make sure that the quality is really good.
Yeah.
You know.
Fucking quality over quantity.
Yeah. Well, Unless who was I listening to? Oh, you ever listen to Hardcore History with Dan Carlin?
I don't. I've listened to Dan Carlin on podcasts. I've heard him
Yeah.
talk about shit. I haven't listened to any of his himself, but I should.
When he was, I think he's been on the Joe Rogan podcast twice. One of them I was listening to, he had a line that blew my mind though that said, "Quantity becomes a quality of its own." And that's the other side of that coin, is that, and I don't know if you've seen what Lewis Knutson, he's a local musician, what he's been doing, but he's been releasing a song a week this year.
Mm.
And they're not that, I mean, like, he'll admit, like, this song probably needed, like, a couple extra weeks of work, but, like, he's just pushed to keep putting out content because of this thing that he decided to do. And there is a certain quality to having 52 new songs in a year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's pretty cool.
And I've heard musicians that they choose or prefer to like record a song on like one take basically, and just
Yeah.
capture that rawness, that roughness and stuff. That's another interesting side of that too.
Yeah. That takes such a level of like confidence in your approach, just to be like, no, that's the take.
Man, if I did that with my music, oh fuck, it'd be garbage, dude.
Yeah. Oh man, I can't imagine, dude. I've really weirdly learned to love revision and multiple drafts, and like honing's the wrong word, but like I made a 1 page PDF the other day for work that we were like sending out to somebody, and it took us like a week to make it. Whereas before I would have done it like in 2 hours.
Yeah.
The information would have been close to the same, but it probably wouldn't have been as effective in communicating what it was supposed to communicate, you
Right.
know? And yeah, I mean, we in a week we did like, it was like 12 different drafts. And I mean, to show you draft 1 versus draft 8 that we finished with, it would, I mean, I do it to myself to remind myself of the value, but it would blow your mind. I'll always go look at draft 1 and be like, holy shit, like where we got to from where we started is
Yeah.
so crazy, you know?
Yeah, that's great.
But
Hell yeah. Well, that's awesome, man. You're
Yeah.
involved in so much different awesome stuff, like as far as QC food dudes and laundry love. So yeah, how would people want to, if someone wants to do laundry love or give and
Yeah.
grub, how would they go about that? Do you have Facebook pages for those, or is it just event pages?
yeah, so Giving Grub just has event pages. Laundry Love QC has its own Facebook page and its own website, laundryloveqc.org. Otherwise, yeah, if you can either just email me directly or find connectionqc.org online and email me through there. But yeah, there's a bunch of different. There's no this. You're making me realize we need to have a better way to get streamline all this information. That'll be my next project.
I mean, shit, like, I'm friends with you on Facebook, and I see all that stuff, so, I mean, I get it in my feed, so,
Yeah.
I see it a lot.
Yeah, we just do whatever's easiest, which typically just means Facebook events.
And I know you got a page for different, too.
Yeah, we did. We started one.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I forgot about
I
that.
think you did, yeah.
Yeah.
I liked it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's good to know.
Different, and that's Diffrint.
Yes.
Different.
Yeah, there is one of, if you like kind of old school boom bappy, not like not like Beastie Boys or Run DMC, where it's like those real simple rhymes, but like early 2000s. This is like backpack rap before backpack rap, when it was underground hip hop that was still trying to do a little bit more traditional style hip hop, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It still had some modern twist to it, but it wasn't, like Jermaine Dupri. you know, like that. Whenever I hear early 2000s hip hop, I hear Jermaine Dupri and I
Yeah.
hear Drop It Like It's Hot. Those are the initial sounds that come into my mind.
Right.
Um, but uh, but yeah, there's a group called Deep Space Five, and Deep Space Five is were like one of the very first hip hop groups I really got into, and they have a line that says, or no, they had an album named "Unique," just like everybody else, and they had a song that was based off that too, where it said you want to be different, but that's actually I just learned this. That's a Kurt Cobain line.
What is the line?
Um, it's about being different. Everyone, you laugh at me because I'm different, but I laugh at you because you're all the same.
Yeah.
I think that's a Kurt Cobain line. They had a song that was like based around that, and anyway, that's where the little idea of being or the it's a play into for the different events. It's saying we're all different. Come be different together.
Right.
And it's kind
Yeah.
of like, well, we're not really that different. We all have and so the tagline for different is be unique like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Which is yeah, that trying to play into that idea that like once you start sharing your story. Well, actually, this is the very last, I think, Connection podcast I talked about, where we actually have 95% of stuff in common with
Yeah.
most people.
Mm-hmm.
But we choose to focus on the 5% that we don't have in common. And once you start sharing your story, it's impossible to not start picking up on that 95% that we all have in common.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think more people should do something like different, in their own cities, because that'd be
Mm-hmm.
great. I think it's a good thing for, it might seem like a small thing, like just a little thing you're putting on, at a venue, but I think it's good for, it could be good for society, like
Yeah.
just bringing up that difficult subject matter, and probably really therapeutic for the people there, like
Yeah.
performing, talking about difficult stuff, and then yeah, just the people hearing. Like, I think it would be like a good thing all around to like progress society in
Yeah.
more of a loving way, I guess.
That's the
Accepting of everyone and
Yeah,
all
I mean
that.
that's the lofty goal of it for sure. I don't know how often that I was really encouraged. So this is gonna sound really um, petty of me, but I was really happy about it. Um, After our last different event on race, there was this couple there that um, I think one of my sisters maybe knew them. I can't remember, but they they were a white couple that lived in Davenport, and they came and they had been attending a church that I don't know how they made this jump in logic, but they did, and it's not a questionable jump in my opinion. They basically heard everybody's different story from the one on race, and they heard all these stories of people talking about what it was like growing up to not be white, and they realized how important that was, and they realized the bubble that they were living in, and they were like, "Holy shit, we didn't know any of this."
Yeah.
Uh, they literally like had their minds blown by all the performers, and they left their church.
Yeah.
They were like,
Yeah. Wow.
"Why is we not talking? Why is no one talking about this? Like, you're
Yeah.
supposed to be a moral authority, leading, helping me navigate the world, and you're not." I was unaware of all these things. You
That's a
know?
great example of how, yeah, that can really open people's minds and
Yeah,
make them become more accepting and loving and all around whatever.
yeah.
But
And at the very least, like even they, what's the or not in the very least, but I guess the opposite of the very least, like to keep dreaming on that is like, well, maybe they left this church and someone said, well, why'd they leave? Or the leadership's like, why'd they leave? Well, maybe we should do a better job of talking about race.
mm-hmm.
And then so then they change, and then they know somebody else, and they're like, hey, yeah, we had some people leave because, pastors talking to pastors. We had somebody leave because we weren't talking about race. So then the next place, talks about race. That's the lofty goal, but and thank you for reminding me of it, because when you get in the thick of it, you just again, you just focus on the clipboard,
Yeah.
and you're like, I need to fill 9 different artist slots from this time, and I got to email so and so, and you lose sight of, you know, that kind of stuff.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's awesome. So if anyone wants to get in contact with you or your work, are you on social media as far as Facebook and
I
anything
am
else?
just on Facebook. I've been trying to get rid of that.
Yeah.
Was on Twitter and Instagram as of like 6 months ago, and I've slowly started to peel. I got rid of Twitter first and then Instagram, but yeah, so I'm just on Facebook. I'm pretty willing to befriend people.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you you know, send me a friend request, there's very few people I say no to.
Yeah.
But then like if I see one post I don't,
Yeah.
I'm usually like, all right,
Like, all right,
unfriend.
get out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not necessarily one post, but like a couple, you know, like you can pretty quickly figure out who's a bot or who's, you
Yeah.
know, whatever.
Yeah.
We're just out to do stupid shit. But I'm not on Facebook like crazy. I have to be sometimes because of the events and doing promo and stuff. But yeah, Facebook, Brandon
Yeah.
Carleton. Otherwise, Connection QC has a Facebook. Like you said, Laundry Love QC has a Facebook.
And laundryloveqc.org.
Yep. Ode To The Underdog has a Facebook.
Uh-huh.
So I'm on there at least once a week promoting those episodes. You can do some self promo. Check out Cody's episode
Oh yeah.
of Ode To The Underdog.
Hell yeah. But yeah, that's awesome, man. I appreciate you coming on and everything. We had a good talk, and definitely get you back on again sometime.
Yeah,
and
man.
dive deeper into other various things.
Thanks for having me into the this is like a sanctuary.
Yeah, yeah. It's a good spot. It's very chill. I think so.
You know what I realized? Well, is this a dead end?
Yeah.
Like I haven't heard any sound outside of this space.
I noticed some, but
Oh, you did?
I have big ears.
Yeah, no, but this place.
Yeah,
is
no,
dope.
it worked out. Yeah. So far,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, thanks
good,
for having me
but-
on, man.
Hell yeah, it's an honor, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're
Definitely. All right, guys. Peace out.